Hello traders and welcome back to another market update. My name is Nick and today we're going to be taking a look at the currency market, looking for potential setups, trade ideas, and zones to look for. So let's go ahead and jump right into today's market update, starting with the usual Euro USD. Now what we see here with Euro USD is we did get a nice little pop here. If we look on the 4-hour chart, you can see price did make a nice movement here at the start of the week, or kind of the end of the week last week. You can see right around here we made a nice jump of 76 pips. Very strong movement to the upside there on euro dollar. Now here's the thing about the daily chart here that I wanted to point out. What you can see is that overall we are continuing to see this kind of channel price action that we have been watching for quite some time on euro dollar. Now very simply, if we just kind of draw this channel, you can see price has been oscillating back and forth. Now we did get a tag of this structure, but we did not get another tag of it right here. We actually formed a nice little double bottom there and seeing some price action to the north side. So we'll see ultimately here, guys, if we can make a movement to the upside and ultimately touch this trend line. If price can get up there, I think that there's some really good opportunities for a potential short setup. Let's go ahead and take a look at our next one, which is going to be GBP USD today. And what you can see here is if I look on the 4-hour chart and I zoom in a little bit, you can see we are actually forming kind of a nice little uptrend here on GBP USD. Now you can see price kind of finding its legs here, bouncing multiple times off this trend line and then shooting off of that structure, a nice movement of, what is that, 160 pips or so very quickly on the 4-hour chart here. So very nice bullish move going on. We are currently seeing a pullback, and if we draw a Fibonacci retracement, we might actually get some nice little setups, especially if we can line it up somewhere around that 50% level retracement. See that where we found structural support here, and if we look left, you can see right here we kind of have this little clue here that the structure was bearish there. We broke through that level and may act as a bullish level as it did right here. Something to consider and something to watch for on GBP USD on the 4-hour chart. USD JPY is going to be our next one. Taking a look at the 4-hour chart here, you can see we did get a quick jump or fall through of this lower structure and currently still respecting this channel. USD JPY did make a movement to the downside at the start of the week, kind of jumping down and shooting down there or wicking down below support, but actually ended up holding that support level and now finding a bounce off of that structure. Now going forward, the question is, will we see a retest of this level up here? And if we do, I think there's a good chance that we might find buyers kind of weaken out, right? Sellers step in and take strength and push this market back down. So something to consider and look for on USD JPY. If you find some sort of confirmation, you might be able to find a trade there. Brent crude is going to be our next one, which did catch a bounce at the start of the week. You can see if we take a look at the daily chart, we are still in the context of a longer term kind of downtrend. If we kind of extend this out, you can see if we draw this level here, this is kind of a long-term downtrend channel that we've seen going on Brent crude. And so the question is, can we get up to test that structural level? And if we do so, will we be able to break through it? I think that the first stop is to at least see price head up to test that trend line level of resistance, especially if you can see it lines up kind of nicely with this structural level here, right? Support became resistance, and now potential resistance again. If we can get up there, should be an interesting price to see if price can make its way up to that point. WTI crude is our next one, which is going to look pretty similar. Now, if we look at the 4-hour chart, you can see, look at this structure. We do have bearish structure here as well, but we also have kind of a wedge formation forming on WTI. You can see right here, we're forming the context of kind of a wedge formation. Now, what this often leads to, as we talk about multiple times on one of these market updates, is you can see that as price kind of gets tighter and tighter, what usually ends up happening is we get some sort of break one way or the other. And so if you're a breakout trader, finding a wedge like this could be a great opportunity to look for some sort of trade on that wedge, trade on that breakout. Next up is gold, which did shoot once again to the high side. We did break above structural highs here. You can see if we take a look at the daily, if we zoom in just a little bit, you can see we are still finding momentum. Now, what you can see is that momentum is having a hard time continuing. We did break above. Now, the question will be today, can we hold this recent structure high, right? Can we break through this level and close, or are we going to close underneath? Because if we close underneath, this might actually be a bearish signal here on gold. Something to watch for to see how this daily candle closes. I think it might give some indication of where price may be headed next. Euro Canadian is our next one, guys, which actually is, if we bring it down a little bit, kind of finding its way, testing this structural level of trend line that I found here that I wanted to point out to you guys. You can see structurally very bearish along this line. We did get a pullback up to that level, and this was a nice little higher low that was formed, and you can see price did overall sell off and make a nice movement to the downside. Finally, our last one is going to be Euro New Zealand. If you take a look at the daily chart here, you can see that we did wick up on the start of the week. Crazy movement to the upside. You can see from the start of the candle, we actually made about 146 pip movement, 140 or so pip movement. And that was really in just the span of a few hours. Very, very quick movement and also very quick to fade. You can see Euro NZD started out very, very kind of jumping up to the upside. And this is something to do with New Zealand. There was some sort of news about the trade war. Something came out and really caused price to jump up, but also very quickly fade back down. And you can see now we actually have kind of an interesting little setup where we have two long wicks at the top here, which may signal that something may be ready to reverse, right? Lots of sellers up in this zone up here. So going to be something to watch for on Euro New Zealand. Guys, thank you so much for joining me on today's market update, and I hope to see you in the next one.